Let me get started here. Okay, so we're going to be talking about culinary arts, but the beginning of the story, this story is about Mr. Hüseyin Özer, a Turkish guy who starts from, if you know the number line, like there's this negative side and then there's the positive side, right? That if zero is the birth date of any person, this guy basically starts with a negative, and you'll know what I mean when I tell his life story, because this is just fascinating what happens to him and how he responds. That's the key. I need you to at least pay attention to what happens and how he responds, because that's the item that I need you to take away from this. It's not like how wonderful his life is now or whatever, but the way he's responding to all the stuff. Anyway, so it's Street Smarts, Culinary Arts, a boy's ascent in the world of fine dining. So we're going to be talking about Mr. Hüseyin Özer. He is the owner of Sofra and Özer. That's another one. He has two of them. These are Michelin star restaurants, which is highly distinguished places. This is where prime ministers and ambassadors dine, and it's like the highest cream of the crop people go to these restaurants in London, which is, you know, one of the most expensive or high society kind of places, if you will. The reason I want to tell you about the story is this guy was basically a nobody, even not even a nobody. It was even less than that, and you'll see as I carry on with the story. But at the moment, he's at the top of his life, let's say. So when this guy was really young, his parents divorced. He was born in 1949 in Tokat, a village of Tokat, which is a rural middle Anatolia region in Turkey. And both parents, I mean, neither of the parents want him. So he is sent to live with his grandfather. And he basically becomes an unwanted child when his grandfather gets really old. And he's basically bathed only twice a year, imagine, only at the religious holidays. So he's probably stinking most of the time. And he's hungry and he steals bread. One time, one of his elder brothers or cousins, I can't remember which, but attempts to poison him because his stepmom doesn't want him alive. And usually he's always hungry, but that day he opens up this fig, which his stepmom, his brother gives him, and he opens and he sees the poison in the fig. And he shows it around and people say, dump that and we'll give you something to eat. And he remembers that day as the happiest day because he wasn't hungry that day. He was full. This is lesson number one. I mean, he is attempted to be poisoned by family. Yet, the way he remembers this is, that is the happiest day of my life because I was full. I ate so much food people gave me. They shared the food with me that day. So I was full that day. You know, if you ask most people, how would you remember that day? Is it the worst day of your life? Is it the best day of your life? Come on, somebody's trying to murder you. Most people would say, it's the worst day of my life. I was going to be killed. But this guy say, hey, I was full that day. It felt great. This is very interesting to me. Then, oh, by the way, he's not allowed to go to school. At 7 years old, his dad disowns him, and he is shepherding sheep. Sheep or goat, something like that. And he says he learned life from herding animals, from shepherding. Like he says people and sheep or goat, they're the same, a herd of animals. If you treat them well, they will treat you back well. He didn't have a role model to look up to. So he says, I've learned life from animals. And the only thing that he wanted to do was to go to school. But his father, at 7 years old, disowns him. He says, I don't have a son like you. Okay. And the only thing he wants is to go to school. But because his father doesn't own him, he simply can't go to school somehow. And he takes the herd to the school area and acts as if, well, they went on their own. And it keeps happening that way. And people don't want him to be seen by the teacher because in Turkey, it's illegal for a minor at that age not to go to school. So if somebody comes and lets the people know that this kid is not, going to school, then the family could be sued or even prisoned. So knowing that, he actually wants some teacher, somebody to see him and to take him to school somehow, but he gets beaten by family members just because he's taking the herd to the school area. But finally, the teacher finds out and he sues the family and wins. But it's like he's 11 years old by that time, and it takes ages. In Turkey, the legal system is so wonderful that it takes ages for lawsuits to be completed. So he basically can't go to elementary school. Yet there is another shepherd who actually teaches him how to read and write. He shows him all the letters and he says, I remember I used to write on rocks, I used to write on snow, I used to write on anything I could find so that I could learn how to write and read. So that's how he learns how to read and write. In the meanwhile, his mother is mad at his father for not letting Hussein to go to school. So mother has a wonderful plan. His mother thinks Hussein needs to kill his father. So she tells Hussein that he needs to go to Ankara, which is the capital city, to buy a gun to kill his father. Brilliant. So since he doesn't know any better, he actually goes to Ankara. He gets a job at 11 years old, not knowing a single person. Oh, I gotta turn on the light here. Okay. Not knowing a single person at the capital city, he actually gets a job, but he sleeps at a public toilet. Imagine sleeping at a public toilet, and he's grateful for that toilet. If I don't know about you, but if someone would make me go to a city that I don't know a single person, I don't have a job, I'm supposed to find a job, and I gotta, support myself, I would be miserable. Yet this guy is grateful because this public toilet is warm enough to be able to house him. It becomes his house. He lives there for a whole year. Imagine. And he's grateful. I mean, the contradiction of that approach You know, this is what is to be grateful. This is the idea. Oh, I'm going to turn on that. Why is this flickering? Okay. Anyway, so this guy is grateful for something that most people would frown upon. He makes just enough money to be able to have one liver sandwich a day. In Turkey, people fry liver and they basically mix it with onions and green stuff, and that's how we eat it. But his daily wages are not enough to let him buy a meatball sandwich or a hamburger kind of thing. So you know, I need you to compare how much he makes. He can't even afford to buy breakfast. He has only one meal, and that meal is a liver sandwich, which he's grateful for. He's not looking down upon it. He's so grateful for that liver sandwich. He makes a deal with the liver sandwich selling guy every single day. He actually gets that. At work, he says, his right hand fingers gets cut and burned, and people take him to the hospital to be stitched. And the boss scolds those people for taking him to the hospital because the boss looks at him as a spendable kind of person. And he gets stitched and comes back and starts washing dishes with stitches in his hand right away. And he even kids about this. He says, when I meet with a lady, he used to say, there's a diamond in that bump right there, and when I find the right lady, I'm going to take it out from that bump and give it to the right lady. So that's the way he actually kids about this miserable story. And he also actually writes not a single letter, 2 letters, by the way, to the prime minister of the time to ask to be schooled. He wants, is desperate to go to school. And both letters says that he needs to go to an unemployment agency, that, you know, they basically disregard him. 1 year later, at 12 years old, he saves enough money and he feels so rich, and he's trying to get some place to sleep, right? And when he's, you know, with all the money that he made, he actually goes looking for a room, and somebody makes fun of him, and they say, you can actually get a cellar with this place, a coal cellar where you keep coal, right? Not a proper room. So he takes that for serious. They're making fun of him, but he takes that for serious, and he actually rents this place. Okay, he gets this place, and it has a lamp, it has a bed, and he's so happy because he has a lamp where he can read, and that's where he starts reading religious material. And then he says, these texts, they say it's bad to kill, you're not supposed to kill. So he changes his mind about killing his father just because he's reading, you know, just because he's using his head, by not actually going with what his mom says. He actually goes with what this text is saying, and he makes a very significant change in his life trajectory. Imagine, from being a murderer, he becomes a decent person who invests all the money he makes into learning. That's in that cellar, he decides that he needs to learn English. This guy has not ever gone to a single class, not a single day of schooling. Yet he realizes that he should learn. So at 12 years old, he starts reading whatever he finds with that lamp. And he's again grateful for that lamp. He doesn't have a bed. He doesn't have a desk. He doesn't have a couch. And, rather than looking at those and feeling sorry for himself, he's simply so happy, so grateful for that lamp and being able to read and learn. And in the meanwhile, he goes to like around 19 years old, I guess. He goes to Istanbul. In the meanwhile, he does his military service, gets married, then his wife leaves him, and he basically has this will. He hires someone, a teacher, to teach him English. But eventually he says, I need to go to England to learn the language. And he doesn't have enough money to get an airfare ticket. So he hops on a bus and he goes to England with a bus, single fare, single way. And he doesn't have any money when he goes there. And with the food that they give on the bus, he tries to sustain himself, but for 3 days he goes hungry because he doesn't have a job, he doesn't have any place to stay, he doesn't have anything to eat. So he basically tries to survive on the leftovers from what the bus gives to him, to the passengers. And then he finds a job, and basically he says, I was willing to work for anything. And they promised 50, probably it's 50 cents or something. And they give him 40, not 50 at the end of the work time, but he doesn't fuss about it because he's grateful he has a job now. And this is a picture from those days. This is the gyro place. First it's a pizza place, and then he moves to the gyro. And eventually he gets a proposal from his old boss a couple of years later. And the old boss doesn't speak English, but by that time Hussein is fluent in English. He has no capital. Hussein has even debt to the bank. But because of his superior cooking skills and amazing relationship with his clientele, his old boss wants to partner with him. And they partner, and they name this place Aspava, which is an acronym for let God and the prophet give you what you want or what you wish for, something like that. So eventually he owns this place where he first started working. And this place used to have, it wasn't making perfect business for a long time, but after he starts making it work, they start generating good money. This guy's success is basically, this is the menu, and at the top of the menu it says, if it's not to your personal taste, we will make the nutritionist, chef, owner, Dr. Hüseyin Özer eat it. This is a copyrighted material. He says anybody can copy my food, my recipes, but no one can copy this statement, because this statement is my guarantee, my personal guarantee to the quality of my dishes. My meal is guaranteed personally with this statement. If you don't like what I'm serving, I'm going to eat it. Because this, the important point here is he does not pick the stuff that he's going to serve depending on the looks or how wonderful it feels, or whatever. It's the taste. Okay, he says, I don't care from where it comes. It could be Turkish, it could be British, it could be French or German. I don't care. What matters is the flavor. Is it delicious? I need to be able to enjoy it. That is my criteria. If I don't enjoy the food, then I'm not going to serve it on my menu. So this is this obsessive. Well, it's an obsession with quality. I can't describe it any other way. He's obsessive with what he's eating and with what he's serving. That is the key to his success. At least that's what he's claiming. So this guy is known. He actually partners with a university. He is known as the Harvard. Sofra, his restaurant, is known as the Harvard of culinary arts. And the students of Middlesex University, they come to the restaurant. That's where they learn how to read the market, how to read the clientele, how to assess, how to serve, how to talk, how to behave, how to read competition, how to get over the financial crises, economic crises. It's a whole package. It's not only the making of the food. It's a system, basically, they're learning. And he says, so far we have graduated at least 20 millionaires in our kitchen university. Sofra is known as a university where they are educating people through cooking, not only for making dishes, but looking at the whole thing as a way of life, basically. He says some of our staff became CEOs in corporations. Some of them became high-ranking officers in banks or academics in universities. So they're actually teaching the hard knocks kind of university life, how to take life at as a whole, let's say, with everything, you know, with the kitchen and also the market economics altogether. In the meanwhile, he says, he has a daughter from his first wife, and he says, I told my daughter, I'm not going to leave a single penny to you, because all the money that I'm making is going to this foundation, which raise money to people who can't go to school because of financial means. All the disadvantaged people, they are supported by his foundation. And what he is leaving to his child is, you need to learn how to make your own money. I'm not going to leave you any money. That's the deal with his own daughter. And in the meanwhile, his staff, this is Yunus from Ethiopia, he says, my staff is like my own family, and I treat them like family. I make sure that their life standards are good, they like their job, and he treats them like a father. He says he has always been happy until he started making money. When he started making money, mafia started harassing him. Because of mafia, his staff attempted to poison customers. He wasn't allowed in his own restaurant. And he had to deal with stuff like that, and eventually had to put up bulletproof windows so that ambassadors, prime ministers could come to his place and dine at his place comfortably. Imagine, this is London, and like people are going around with guns, and he has to put up bulletproof windows, but these are real life stories that he's explaining. And Boris Johnson, he has pictures with Boris Johnson and other noted people in UK. So the key of this story is, even though he has not a single role model in his life to tell him about faith, like probably his mom called herself a Muslim or something, but she was also illiterate enough to task his own son to kill somebody, let alone his own father. But this little boy at 12 years old is using his mind and judging that it's no good to kill anybody, reading from a text. It doesn't necessarily have to be a religious text, but he's using his own head. And then he is always grateful for the things that he has, and he attributes the success in his life to being grateful and being obsessive with good quality. He says, you can never be a failure if you don't, like, if you keep giving good quality service, good quality food, then there's success is going to come automatically. And that's what he's preaching to all his staff. But it's always work as play. He feels as if work is like his own hobby or something. He doesn't feel like he has worked a single day in his life because he likes cooking. He enjoys, and he feels as if people are paying for him to carry out his hobby. So that's all I'm going to be talking about today. At the very end, these are the references, but it might be a little difficult because these are all in Turkish, so you might have to translate these